Thank you very much. Nice to see the whole town made it out for my presentation. Sweet. You know, if you want to come closer, I was going to start by rocking out a song at a podium, which is kind of rare for a rock star, but I know this isn't totally coaching yet, but I'm going to tell you how I got into that. But before I start, are you cool if I play you a song? You sure? Okay, all right. Woo. You reaching out your hand to me. There's something about the chemistry. When I'm with you, it seems so clear. The rest of the world disappears. You get me so high. You're one of a kind. I'm such a blessed and lucky guy. You get me so high. I'm so excited, 'cause I get to spend the rest of life with you. You grace my skies like a dawn. You are a little piece of God. No matter what you say or do, I'm always looking out for you. You get me so high. You're one of a kind. I'm such a blessed and lucky guy. You get me so high. I'm so excited, 'cause I get to spend the rest of life with you. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Well, late in the night when you're asleep, I look at your face and I believe God must have sent from up above some kind of unconditional love. You get me so high. You're one of a kind. I'm such a blessed and lucky guy. You get me so high. I'm so excited, 'cause I get to spend the rest of life. I get to spend the rest of life with you. All right. Woo! Thank you very much. All right. So here's the thing. I was failing French class in grade 7, and that's how I got here right now. I was failing French class in grade 7, and I made a deal with my teacher. I said, all right, I got to get my grade up. I don't want to stay back in grade 7. And she said, okay, you can do an extra project for the class. So I had, at my mom's house at home, she had this guitar lying around the house, and I picked it up one day and I started playing, and I learned a few chords on the guitar, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then I had this idea as I was holding this guitar. I thought, I know what I'm going to do for my extra French project. I'm going to get my mom to translate a Bob Dylan song into French, record it on a cassette tape, and hand it in as my extra project. And that's what I did. And I got my mark back from this extra project, and I got an A+ on it, which brought my mark up to a D-, which was so sweet. And this was a pivotal moment in my life, because my teacher, my French teacher, came back to me and said, that was so impressive. Would you want to play this song in front of the school? And I was going through puberty in grade 7, and it was like, I don't know what came over me to say yes, because I the fear of my voice going to crack in front of everyone. But I got up in front of my school, and I remember everyone piled into the gym, and there I was with my guitar, hands shaking, heart beating in my chest, and I'm like, how am I going to get the guts to do this? And I remember walking up in front of the mic, and I started playing, and my worst nightmare came true. It's like nobody was listening to me play. I was totally bombing. And then something else came over me profound. I just learned the chords to Fred Penner's song, The Cat Came Back. So I was like, sweet. So I started playing The Cat Came Back. And then all of a sudden, it's like people started listening. And the whole school started singing along. And I looked out and I was like, this is so powerful, how music brings people together. I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, is bring people together like this. So that's when my career really started, was in grade 7, and how I got here. And throughout the years, as you heard in the intro, I've had a pretty diverse career so far. I started off playing music way back. I went to high school. I ended up getting my teaching degree at U of W. It was kind of a fallback plan, to be honest, because my dream has always been to just be a rock star. And after high school and graduating and then university, I started a band called Keith and Renee, and we started traveling all around the world. We've been everywhere almost every state except Alaska. We've been to Dubai, Europe, Africa. We've done a bunch of volunteer work with Craig Kielberger and Free the Children, which was cool. And throughout my journey of playing music, I realized that music is so much more than just trying to be a rock star. As you heard in the intro, I spent a summer on Canadian Idol back in 2006. And it was amazing. Actually, you got to hear this. Canadian Idol, right? I made it to the top 22, and they flew me from Winnipeg to Toronto. And when I got to Toronto, I didn't know a lot of people, and they gave me these tickets to hand out to people that might want to come watch a taping of the show, right? So I have these tickets, and I'm like, I don't know. So I go on the subway, and I just try to find like the four most beautiful women I could meet. And I'm like, do you want to come to Canadian Idol? And they're like, oh, that'd be great. So they showed up, and then little did I know, I'm watching the rerun of the show, and I start singing my song. It was How We Days Collide when that just first came out. And all of a sudden, it flashes to these strangers I gave tickets to, and the caption on the TV comes up, Keith's friends and family. I'm like, this is awkward. But then again, right there, I realized we really are all connected, whether we're family or not. And so after Canadian Idol, and I got eliminated just before the top 10, I realized that there's more to life than just trying to be on stage and be famous. And I got this call from my friend Craig, who invited Renee and I over to Africa. Said, would you want to come and volunteer and play some music and hang out? And I went over there, and I was expecting to see like complete poverty, which I did. But amongst this poverty in Africa, there was people, some of the happiest people I'd ever met, despite the fact that they were wearing like used clothing and eating food that was literally rotting and going bad. It's like their attitude of life was so positive. And so positive to the fact I actually had my guitar with me there, and I was in a market one day where all these people are bartering for used clothing and food that's going bad. And yet they had these smiles on their faces. I'm like, I'm going to get my guitar out and play some music. So I took my guitar out in the middle of this market in Kenya, Africa, and I broke into Look into my eyes, you will see, the Bryan Adams song. And all of a sudden, all these guys come up to me like, what's your name? I said, my name's Bryan. Bryan Adams? My name's Bryan Adams. They're like, you're Bryan Adams. And I'm like, yeah, and this is my bandmate, Mel C. And all of a sudden, there was like all these people gathered around. And amongst these people was this guy named Thomas who had come from Dubai. And after hearing Renee and I sing in that market in Kenya, he said, would you guys be willing to come to Dubai and play music for this company that I own? I was like, do what? I've never even heard of Dubai. And I got on a plane, and I flew from one of the poorest places I'd ever been to one of the richest places I'd ever been, Dubai. It was like night and day. And I remember getting off the plane in Dubai and going, this is crazy, the imbalance of wealth in our world. You know, on 5-hour plane ride one way, you've got like people starving to death. They don't have career symposiums or thinking about what they're going to do for a living. They're thinking about, how am I going to survive another day, just to have food in my belly? And then you fly 5 hours, and in Dubai, there's people that have so much money that they build fake downhill ski slopes in their shopping malls. And you're like, this is crazy. Just come to Winnipeg for just buy a flight to Winnipeg. But the point is, after that trip, I realized that no matter whether you're rich or poor, a different skin color, male, female, it's like underneath it all, we are so all connected, and we are one planet. And this is how I started getting into life coaching. I realized that beyond playing music for thousands of people, there's an opportunity to actually connect with people one-on-one, and transformation happens there so powerfully. So I just want to speak a little bit about what I do as a life coach, since that's what the sign says here, but wanted to give you some context on, if you've seen me as a musician, why I'm also a life coach. I'm also a yoga instructor as well at Moksha, and I travel all around the world doing that. Now, there's a lot of reasons why. I personally have a premise, a belief, and I really want to share this with you, and you don't have to take it, but one of the most important beliefs when it comes to career for me is that I have to do something that I absolutely love. It's the number one thing. And, we go through our school system, and we hear this, we hear messages of like, you got to do something to make a living so that you can pay for your kids and have a family. And it's like we're raised to believe that money is the drive. But the truth is, when it comes to career for me, my premise is that if I'm not doing what I love, I'm not going to make nearly as much money as if I do what I absolutely love to do. That's when abundance of money starts showing up. And I'm finding that more and more. So I wanted to share that belief. With the coaching premise, what I do there is I do a type of coaching called coactive coaching. It's this amazing organization called CTI, the Coaching Training Institute, that I studied with. And what I do is I work with people one-on-one, but I also do a lot of motivational, inspirational speaking, and I use it in that capacity as well. Coactive coaching is this. The idea of coactive is there's two parts to it, co and then active. The co part of who we are, like this is looking at us as a whole. The co part of who we are is really about like, how am I being? How am I feeling? Like as you're sitting here right now, I can actually look out there and see the co-energy in the room. I can see right here, there's kind of like this joyful little celebration in the front expensive seats. They're like, oh my God, I got seats for Keith McPherson's talk. And they're like super pumped. And the energy, the co-energy of that is like super excited, right? And then in the back, I can see some people sort of slowly starting to fade going, if I have to listen to one more career talk, this is like so lame. And that co-energy is completely different. But it's like, if I were to name the co of that, it's like, how am I being? And this is really important because most of the time we live on the other side of coactive, which is the active side, right? You can see active. We're actually conditioned to believe that active is all life is about. It's like you got to get a job, you got to stay busy, you got to work, you got to make money, you've got to always be thinking in your mind, you got to be doing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when those two entities are out of balance, you see people getting like really stressed out in their lives, right? When people are living too actively, which I see a lot as a coach, people will come in and they'll go, I'm so stressed out. I broke up with my girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm not making enough money. Life sucks, but I just feel overwhelmed. Most likely that's like really active energy for somebody. And they haven't even considered, how am I being while all this is going on? Do you know what I mean by this? So it's like there's a balance. So as a coach, my job is essentially this when I sit down with somebody. It's to ask really powerful questions to people and to assess where they are in terms of that balance between like how are they being and what are they doing in their lives. Because when those two entities come together as one, right? When I'm doing something and I know why I'm doing it and how I'm feeling while I'm doing it and my intention behind why I'm actively doing it, it's like there is balance, there is bliss. It's like so awesome. But when I don't know, when I'm too active and I get super busy, I'm like, I don't even know. I'm not grounded. I'm like flying. The other way it can happen too, when people are too you end up seeing a lot of this, like people that are like couch potatoes, people that just want to chill out and just be, you know, some of the people that come to my yoga classes, they're that. They're like, oh, peace and love, man, hippie, right? And there's nothing wrong with any of this. The thing is that normally we're out of balance one or the other. So when I'm coaching, I ask these powerful questions to people, knowing that the idea here is to bring people into balance between co and active. So these are some of the most powerful questions you can ever ask somebody. The first question is this: what do you believe? What do you believe about a certain thing? So if, for example, somebody comes to me and they're like, I really want to find out what I need to do for a living, I would ask them this question. The thing with coaching that's important to know here is that I never give really advice in the work I do. Coaching isn't like counseling. This is the difference. Coaching is not about saying what somebody should do. Coaching is actually dancing with the person you're with and asking questions, but we're like in it together and we're like, how are we going to move you to more balance, to where you want to be living, the life you want to be living? But I don't know how you're going to do it, which is actually kind of scary on my end as a coach, because it's like at the end of a session sometimes someone might go, well, what the heck? Like, I don't know. And I'll be like, I don't know either. But there's something really cool about not knowing, because in the not knowing, it's like we start growing ourselves towards what is possible, right? So the idea of asking somebody, what do you believe? So with career, it's like, what do I believe about my career? Like I started off, I was saying, I believe that the most important thing for my career is that I do something that I absolutely love. I refuse to be in a job, like a 9-to-5 job for me. That is like so brutal for me. I can't even imagine working for somebody. I know what I don't want. The second most powerful question is to ask yourself, what do you want, right? And to ask your client, what do you want? So I ask people all the time, what do you want with this, I get, for example, I have a client that comes in and says, my boyfriend keeps cheating on me over and over again. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And they're like, well, I want him to stop cheating on me. And it's like, well, okay, if that's what you want, then let's go deeper. And it's all through questioning. So after you ask somebody what they want, the next powerful question is, why do you want that? Because a lot of times people say they want something, and asking somebody what they want is a very active question, right? It's like, what do you want? And they're going to answer you with an active question of, I want to go here. I want to do this. I want my boyfriend to stop cheating. It's like an action thing, right? But when you ask somebody, why do you want it? That's a very question, isn't it? It's like, why do you want this? So if it's like, I love this analogy around here. I want my boyfriend to stop cheating on me. Why do you want that? When you ask somebody that, it totally moves them into a place of They have to think about, well, why do I want that? How does it make me feel when he does cheat on me? Why do I actually want a boyfriend that's not going to cheat on me? And you end up getting answers like, well, because I deserve better and I want somebody that loves me, on and on. People have different answers. But that's the amazing part. And then the final part of questioning and coaching is this. It's what are you going to do to actually move forward? Now that you know why you want something, what do you need to do in order to move that forward? Like, what's your action plan? And we end up designing an action plan. So in a coaching session, typically what happens, it usually lasts about an hour. Somebody comes in, we talk about what they want. In a session, we actually do this, and then we do this overall. But in a session, we'll go, what's your belief? What do you want? Why do you want it? And how are you going to get it? And so at the end of a session, once we've kind of talked and danced through that, even if we haven't resolved the complete answer or found the complete answer, we end up designing a challenge together, coach and client. And it's really cool. This is so powerful about coaching is at the end of a session, I always give my client like a challenge or a piece of homework to take with them to do. And then I hold them accountable for that homework. And I know in school that's kind of lame because it's not very much fun, right? You're with your teacher, they give you detention if you don't do your homework. In coaching, it's not like that. In coaching, the homework is designed to help you move towards what you want. So typically, a client will be like, I want to do this. Even though it's scary, I want to do it because I know why I'm doing it and where it's going to lead me. So we always design a challenge at the end of a session. And then if I continue to see the client, they come back and report on how it went. And then we take it from there and we dance. One other really important thing about coaching that you should know too is that we look at I look at 12 different areas of life. So I don't just deal with relationships. I deal with finances. I deal with people's careers. We talk about a social life, my physical health and fitness, my emotional life. We talk about all sorts of different areas of life. And it changes throughout, all these parts of our life are connected. If your emotional life is down, most likely your career is going to be just suffering as much. But when you boost your emotional life, it's like the career boosts and the finances boost. So it's trying to find this dance between balancing through questioning. And I absolutely love this part of my career. It's so powerful. And what it really allows me to do too is on the creative side with the music and the yoga, it's all actually surprisingly connected because the main premise of what I'm doing is connecting people back to who they really are. We live in a society, an epidemic in our society is that people have lost the essence that underneath all of the conditioning, we are totally love. Like when I play a show, even though I don't go outwardly and always say, hey, you're lovable, you should love yourself. It's like my intention when I'm playing music, whether I'm playing music, teaching a yoga class, or even coaching somebody, my intention is that somebody's going to walk away from the work I've offered them with feeling better about themselves. Because at the end of the day, when somebody feels good about themselves within themselves, they can actually go out and make a difference on the planet too. To me, the whole idea of changing the world starts from within us. And I think that is such a powerful premise to live by. It's like if we really want to see change in the world, it's our responsibility to go within and start loving ourselves and healing ourselves first. That's the only way we can heal the planet. We want to stop war on the planet, you've got to stop the war within yourself. Stand in front of the mirror in the morning, look at yourself and say, I absolutely love you. And notice the resistance that comes up. It's like, oh my God, I can't say that to myself. That's like a war with yourself. So all my work, whether it's music, yoga, coaching, is all about loving myself and questioning and guiding and I guess holding the intention that anybody that I come into contact with is also going to do the same thing. So if I leave you with one thing today, if you're overwhelmed about what career to do or what you're going to, the most important thing you can do right now is to honor how you're feeling in the co-energy and to not stress out about it. It's like love yourself and enjoy this journey. You know, the Tao Te Ching says this. It says, the journey of 1,000 miles is one step at a time. So just know that just sitting here right now is a step towards expansion of what you're supposed to do on the planet, and you're perfect. This is perfectly on time for you. I think I have 2 minutes left. I want to leave you with 2 more things. One way to love yourself, a little coaching tip. I broke up with a girlfriend about 2.5 years ago. Speaking of breakups, she just loved so many guys in a row. It was so depressing. She kept cheating on me. And the one thing that I really missed when we broke up was this. Every morning when we were dating, I used to get a text message from her that'd be like, I love you, Keith. And when we broke up, I stopped getting those text messages, and it was like this emptiness inside. And so this coach friend of mine said, well, you know what you got to do? You got to download this app called Tell Me Later. So I downloaded this app called Tell Me Later. People use it for things like remember to take out the garbage, and it texts you at a certain time of day. And she says, you got to take this app and start texting yourself love notes. I'm like, that's brilliant. So now when I wake up in the morning, I get a text from myself that says, I love you, Keith. You're so beautiful. And then around 10 o'clock, don't forget to take a break. I even get one that says, this is perfectly on time for you. And so when something crappy goes on, that sometimes texts, I'm like, yeah, good reminder. Self-love is seriously the key to life. Final quote by William Blake. I love this. William Blake says this, that which is now proven was only once imagined. Think about it. The chair you're sitting in right now was only just once in somebody's imagination. Isn't that amazing? You know, and then you can take that to things like the computer, the guitar, this microphone I'm speaking in, even the concept of a career. This is all from our human mind. Our minds are so powerful. So I just really want to encourage you to use your mind and really follow that intuition to honor what you're here to do on the planet and dream big. Have a mind that's open to everything and attached to nothing. And I know you hear that a lot in this type of symposium, but it really is true. You know, if you open your mind up, you are a rock star. You really are. So